It's not often that we get to have a terrorist on this show, but we're living in strange times. And so we have managed to secure one of the most terrifying, intimidating, dangerous terrorists that we have seen in the West in a very long time. I'm not talking about a member of Al-Qaeda, not talking about a member of Boko Haram. No, someone far, far more intimidating, a member of the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Yes, that would be Nicholaus Mann, a 27-year-old Canadian, born and raised in Ontario. Where was this man radicalized? He's been a blue-collar worker for 11 years now, trackman operator for 5 years in Ontario, then 6 years in water and sewer in Alberta. This man, he got radicalized somewhere. He joined the Freedom Convoy protest in Ottawa on January 28th as it drove by his hometown. And now he is being prosecuted. Nicholaus, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. That was quite the intro. I appreciate it.
You seem very scary and dangerous, a true threat to Western civilization. Can you tell us a little bit about how you found yourself now being prosecuted for apparently committing a crime?
Well, when we heard that there were millions of like-minded Canadians who, many of which were going to drive 4,000 kilometers to contest these mandates, these passports that we all think are morally wrong. There wasn't any place we were going to be but in Ottawa, standing with the rest of them. And unfortunately, it deteriorated a little bit, but that's how we came to be there. It was great for the 10 days we were there. Again, great people. It was a shame that the abuse of the law there, what would you call it, the misapplication of law that led us to be charged.
So now,
just trying to get resources.
Tell me a little bit about that law, because obviously we're joking. You don't exactly seem like al-Zawahiri or anything like that. So you and lots of other Canadians protested these onerous vaccine mandates, the government's insistence that people who were not at any particularly great risk of dying of the coronavirus take these experimental vaccines, or else they lose their livelihoods, they lose their reputations, they lose everything. And there was a big protest to this effect. The government invoked the Emergencies Act and then shut the whole thing down. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, you can see the wild misapplication of the law right from the get-go, right? They started violating the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which there are situations where that can be done, and it has to be demonstrable. Brian Peckford, the last living signatory of the Charter, lays it out much more eloquently than I could, but there are ways you can do what he did. He definitely didn't follow any of that procedure. Moving on from there, they started misapplying the criminal code, which is how they got me, just with mischief and obstruction charges. And then on top of that, they misapplied the Emergency Act, unprecedented. You can call it the War Times Act, which is old man enacted, but Justin chose to, for the first time, employ the Emergency Act to break up peaceful protesters in Ottawa, give him powers to freeze bank accounts, to, use mischief as a way to charge and prosecute the people that were there.
Now, this whole thing is pretty jarring from my view as an American, because I remember 2020, for what, eight months was it? You had BLM and Antifa burning down city after city after city in our own country. And we were told that those were mostly peaceful protesters. Then you had a handful of eccentrics go into the Capitol Rotunda on January 6th wearing horn hats, sort of dancing around and taking pictures. And we were told that they were the greatest terrorist threat in the history of our country, insurrectionists who almost took down the Constitution. And it just seemed so insane. I mean, one group killed dozens of people, burned federal buildings, torched city after city. The other group cracked a Coors Light in the Capitol, and yet we were told the latter was far more dangerous than the former. Are the leftist groups that protest, that riot, even in Canada, are they prosecuted? Are they treated with the same severity that you guys have been? Or is this, like in America, a totally asymmetrical response?
It seems to be asymmetrical, as you say. Our prime minister took a knee with them. He ran away from us. It wasn't while our protest was going on that there were actual violent attacks on pipelines out west that wasn't reported for days. Just like our own prime minister said, when you spend $600 million, it greases the wheels for the stellar headlines that he gets. I'm paraphrasing a bit. I imagine it works the same with you guys, where the left-wing media is completely bought and paid for, and they toe the party line.
Do you think that the trucker convoy, do you think it accomplished anything, or do you think Trudeau won and got everything he wanted, and now he's going to punish his opponents?
I can't believe that he won the war. He certainly won the battle, but we didn't know that we had so many supporters. We thought we were the fringe, just like he did, right? But we know our strength now. We know what can be accomplished. And if you look at all over this country, you got Alberta completely lifting mandates. You got Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even some of the East Coast. Ontario still hemming and hawing a little bit, but there have been victories, and they can say had nothing to do with us all they want. But we all know the timeline. We all know what they were saying before. We know we accomplished something.
Oh, I think you're probably right. I mean, if you look at that timeline, clearly the trucker convoy sent a message, and local politicians at least are listening. But what about you guys? I mean, you're still going to have to pay the price for going up against Trudeau. So what are you looking at in terms of actual punishment from the government?
Well, I see, I'm not terribly experienced with the judicial system. I've never been arrested before in my life, so there's some hope there that they don't slam the book on me. Of course, again, I'm worried enough that they might move to make an example of the few that they did get. But my charges of mischief and mischief obstruction of property carry a weight of 2 years each, max.
Wow, 2 years! Good grief! I mean, that's for. Did you commit crimes? I mean, did you throw a Molotov cocktail at the building? Did you assault people? What are they even charging you with?
Well, what we did was, with the donations from our family and the great people that we met there, we brought fuel in jerry cans. We went to the gas stations. We filled them up. We brought them to the truckers that were close to empty. We put them in their trucks, and then we moved on. All day we had no problem. Police officers waving to us, smiling, telling us lift with their biceps, until all of a sudden they were grabbing a hold of us, and it just turned out to be me, but thrown in the car and charged.
How did you choose which internet service provider to use? The sad thing is, most of us have very little choice because ISPs operate like monopolies in the regions they serve. That's why you got to check out ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is a fabulous way to protect your data from ISPs who want to look at all of your data. I protect all of my devices with ExpressVPN. It's a simple app for your computer or smartphone. It encrypts all your network data and tunnels it through a secure VPN server so that your ISP cannot see any of your activity. Just think about how much of your life is on the internet. Think about all those websites you go to. On the incognito window that's not so incognito. Websites that could get you in a lot of trouble if people found out about it. Talk about dailywire.com and other right-wing websites. They can get you into a lot of trouble, all right? So use ExpressVPN. Great way to hide your activity online from your ISP. Download the app, push the button, you're ready to go. Protect yourself with the VPN that I trust to keep me safe online. Go to expressvpn.com/MichaelYT. Do it. Do not browse for even one more second without protecting yourself. expressvpn.com/MichaelYT for 3 extra months for free. So this is not a case, because what we were hearing here in the United States is that, look, it just seems like the truckers are honking because they don't want to take the Fauci ouchie and this experimental drug and give in to this bizarre global elite that's misled us for 2 years. No, it's not about that. They're Nazis. They have Nazi flags. They're white supremacists. They're violent. They're attacking people and buildings. And so you've got to put it down. This is the most violent, dangerous group of people we've seen in a very long time. What you're describing doesn't sound very violent at all.
It certainly wasn't. Don't get me wrong. There were definitely a couple of bad actors in the swastika flying the Confederate flag. Who knows if they were plants, but they certainly got great pictures of them right off the hop. There were things that were uncorroborated, like they said they were stealing food from the homeless. The homeless people have never been better fed, better clothed. I had a couple hanging out in my truck just to get warm. then they'd move on. It was a great experience. The streets were cleaner. The snow was shoveled. They said deaths are creating memorials, but all I saw were veterans standing proud beside a memorial. It seemed wild misreporting from the get-go. There's a couple independent news sources that showed up for Canada, and then of course you guys showed up, and we were great to have. The Fox News is the right-wing media actually telling the story like it was. It was pretty great to see.
Well, I am glad that the real news could get out, because you're really seeing it right now in Russia and Ukraine's war that's going on, which is that the propaganda will fly around the world before anyone can verify anything. You mentioned that who knows if maybe the swastika flag was a plant. We've seen that a number of times in American rallies. There was one, I forget exactly which rally it was, some guy had a big Confederate flag out, and he was positioning himself right in front of all the news cameras, and you saw he actually had a little wire going into his ear. So they weren't hiding it very well. There was a rally we had here in America called Justice for January 6th, and when you looked at the photos from the rally, you realized 90% of the people there were left-wing journalists. 9% of the people there were feds. There was this great picture of obvious federal agents all wearing the same kind of nondescript clothes, all standing in a circular formation, situational awareness. It was a total joke. It's like they had just gotten their hair cut at Langley and then walked out to the rally. And then, I don't know, there were probably two guys from Appalachia who hadn't gotten the memo that this was all a big op. But you did have that sense looking at the trucker convoy, as you say. Seems like these guys were relatively peaceful. They wanted a sort of common sense thing. What is your take, beyond the activists out in the streets, on the political temperature of Canada itself? Is the tide turning in a more conservative, reasonable direction, or is Prime Minister Pretty Boy still enjoying support?
I think it's certainly turning. The fear mongering can only go on for so long. The people are either the left wing activists or the people that are just so terrified because they've been conned into it. They think their children are at risk. They don't really see the actual information. They've never done their own cost risk analysis with information that they've gone and gleaned themselves. And so I think it's turning. I think you can only keep people scared for so long. I know that's their game, but it seems like people are waking up, as you see less and less people with masks. It seems to be turning. I think we've started a movement. I don't think we're going away. And I think we can continue this ball rolling until it's over.
Do you think the trucker convoy will turn into a more formal political party? I remember 10 years or so ago that there was the Tea Party movement in the United States, and they never quite became an official political party, but they exerted a huge amount of political influence in 2010, 2012, and that was just after sort of spontaneous rallies, a lot like the Freedom Convoy.
I think we already have one in the People's Party of Canada. Maxime Bernier has been an arbiter of freedom since he left the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party has started to speak out, and fight for Canadian freedoms, but it's a little late. We have Conservative premiers that are in bed with the what do you call them, the sticker companies. They're making lots of money off the people's fear and these restrictions, making money off people going out of business when they should have been standing up for our rights all along. So no, I think the People's Party of Canada will see a lot more than the 5-10% that they had in the last federal election.
I think you're probably right to knock the Conservatives a little. There was a line from Chesterton who said the job of the progressive is to make mistakes, and the job of the conservative is to make sure those mistakes don't get fixed. So every so often you need a little injection of energy and a different way of thinking about things. So, okay, I amend my introduction of you. You are not the next coming of al-Zarqawi. You are not a terrorist. You seem like an ordinary guy, works an ordinary job, just wants to stand up for freedom in your country. No criminal record. When is your court date?
March 3rd.
March 3rd, okay. And you have a good lawyer? You feeling confident? How are your comrades feeling? The people who were out there with you? What are the predictions?
Yeah, there's definitely mixed. You don't know if they're looking to make examples of people. The violence started even after I was arrested. The violence started obviously on the side of the police against these peaceful protesters. So I don't know, I don't know if they will hit them harder than they've hit me. Yeah, again, we have high hopes because most of us never been in trouble with the law before. There's no reason unless it's, vindictive prosecution, which with our prime minister and our left-leaning judges, that very well may be the case. But we definitely have high hopes. I've spoken to some other people that, they were released fairly quickly and that their charges seem to be roughly similar. So unless they hit us with the 4 years each, we do have high hopes. I look forward to letting you guys know how it goes.
Well, I certainly hope so. I hope we can have a follow-up because, we hear a lot of fear-mongering from the left in America and in Canada and the West broadly, fear-mongering over authoritarianism overseas. Well, if they throw you in the can for filling up the gas tanks of some freedom protesters, then I think that the greater threat of authoritarianism is over here. And so we can hope for you. We can shed a little bit of light on this. If you are seriously prosecuted here, I think it's just a clear example of the suppression of political dissent in Canada and America. We've seen a lot of it in recent years, but hopefully you'll be able to make it out and we can push the ball down the court in protection of our way of life and our rights and our freedoms a little bit further.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like you said, there's the fear of the left-leaning judges. They've given them a lot of power, a lot of control over things that, probably never should have happened with the freezing of the bank accounts, putting pastors in solitary confinement just with their thoughts of going out to one of these protests is just insanity. And I hope with enough people looking on, at the very least, he'll be quelled himself, if not voted out.
That's right. It's very, very important that people not get distracted by what the media and the establishment want us to focus on. We focus on the real threats right here at home. Nicholaus, thank you so much. Best of luck to you, and we'll have to check back in after March 3rd.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear from you.